So guys, it seems to me like there's a continued interest in the performance of the RTX 3070 in Cyberpunk. I still get a lot of messages and comments of people asking whether their system and their configuration will run the game smoothly. So in this video I will explore how ray tracing specifically affects the frame rate and what visual difference ray tracing actually makes. On one hand, because the RTX feature seems to be the one that is probably most demanding when it comes to Cyberpunk. And on the other hand, because it seems to me like it's still pretty unclear to a lot of people what actual difference ray tracing makes. So we will look at some direct comparisons with ray tracing on and off, maxing it out, and see how it impacts the frames. But first, let's take a look at my settings. You can see everything is set to high or ultra, and ray tracing is currently set to ultra as well. Throughout the whole recording, DLSS was set to auto, so I didn't fiddle around with this because this video is mainly focusing on ray tracing. Now, we'll look at a mixture of still images, basically just me standing in one location and then switching between RTX on and off to get an exact idea of what ray tracing does. And then I'm going to mix that up with like some moving footage to give you guys an idea of what frame rates you can roughly expect with the specs underneath. You've probably noticed by now that I've put the frames per second up in the top left corner. I've blew it up a little bit so you can see it clearly, and the specs as well as the ray trace settings are on the bottom of the screen, so keep an eye on that. That switches all the time. You'll see whether a scene was shot with RTX on, off, set to ultra, to medium, to psycho. And I have to say, as we're going through this footage, to me the ray tracing setting hardly made any difference when it comes to the frames. Whether I put it on medium, on ultra, or even on psycho, I may have gained or lost 3 to 5 frames, but in the bigger picture, it really doesn't matter. If you switch ray tracing on and you set it to ultra or you set it to medium, to me, again, it didn't make a big difference. I think the TLDR, the too long didn't read, of my experience with the frames is that on average, I get 45 to 65 frames depending on the environment with ray tracing on ultra. In some interiors, the frames go up to, 70 plus, but it doesn't happen that often. And when ray tracing is deactivated, I gain between 15 and 50 frames. You'll see that throughout the video. If you pay attention to the frames in the top left corner and ray tracing being on and off on the bottom, then you'll see that you gain quite extensive frames by switching ray tracing off. However, what is very clear is that there are strong fluctuations in the frames. Not like in other games where it fluctuates a little bit. Here you get drops from 45 frames up to 70 and more. And it's quite unusual how quickly it drops. And obviously, most likely that's just due to my CPU being a bit older and kind of bottlenecking the GPU. But many people commented on my previous video reporting that they are getting even lower frames with Ryzen 5 and even Ryzen 7 CPUs, despite having a 3070 as well. So that's really unusual, that there really seems to be a number of people, all with Ryzen CPUs, having problems, at times like just experiencing 20 frames per second and so on. I don't really get that. I just get the strong fluctuations, and sometimes 45 frames per second also don't feel good. But then there are other people who report that they have constant 60 frames per second or more even on older CPUs. So it really seems to be a gamble when it comes to Cyberpunk and the various hardware configurations. Like I have 2 friends, for example, who just built a completely new rig, one with a 3080 and one with a 3070, and both of them use like new generation Intel CPUs, and they both reportedly have constant 60-70 frames at least with ray tracing on ultra. Then there were also some comments under my video where people reported that their frame rate is declining the longer they play, which might just be due to some, I don't know, cache filling up or something. But there are all these different reports of people struggling with their frame rate, and it's just a bit of a mystery because a lot of the setups that people describe quite powerful. I mean, obviously it depends on a lot of factors, what software as well do you have installed, what kind of RAM do you have, and so on. It's not just the graphics card and the CPU, I get it, but there seems to be some issues with the optimization, and at the moment it looks like, at least when it comes to Ryzen CPU. So let me know your experience down in the comment section below, guys. I'd be very curious to hear your experience with the game. How many frames are you getting? What's your rough setup, right? What's your rig? Post that down in the comments. That'd be great. It will help other people as well to get a rough idea if they want to buy the game and they're looking to find their hardware configuration, how it will run. So it'd be appreciated if you do that. You guys already did a great job of that in my last video, so thanks everyone for doing that. I appreciate it. And at this point we can really only hope for an update in the near future that optimizes the optimization a little bit, if you know what I mean. Anyway guys, I'm not going to talk through this whole video. I'm going to leave the footage running from now on. Feel free again to ask any questions down in the comments. I hope this video helped you a little bit. If you're having 3070 or you were unclear about a few things, I hope this cleared it up a bit. Thank you so much for watching. Take care guys, and I'll see you next time. I'm out. Bye.
Now that ain't right.
space. Choose orbital area.
Goddamn death sentence. I'm telling you, use it out of crap.
Got our heart in the right place. Why do you gotta do her like?
I'm Platinum.
This time.
来吧 ，Happy！ 家人们们。
5, 6.
At all foods, nature comes first. From the very first stages of food production, we bring
Exciting development, even Hanako Arasaka participation in the Dashi program. From all of us at WNS News, we wish you a safe and fun Matsuri. Enjoy yourselves, Night City. After the break, myth or reality?
So, what did we talk about yesterday?
It's all in the report.
Oh, I read it. Except there's no mention of me telling you to delta the phone.
Choose space. Choose orbital area.
When your hunger is wild, race, eat, slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse contains trophy culture.
Did you know last-gen cyberware can damage your nervous system? Remember to take certified neuroenhancing supplements. Some parts of the brain are irreversible.
At all foods, nature comes first. From the very first stages of food production, we bring you body that even Mother Nature can envy. Try out our freshly developed new tastes and let your tongue be amazed. All foods. Mmm.
Good doggy!
Oh, no, no, no.
You know what the worst thing is about this place?
My name is Alex.
Hey, yo, V. How about a round or two? What do you say?
From the very first stages of food production, we bring you bio quality that even Mother Nature.
Got another dry, sun-filled week coming your way, Night City. But soak in that sun while you can. There's a cold front moving
I can't.
in. Prepare for
I already told
All
you.
foods, nature comes first.
Exactly.
From the very first stages of food production,
I ain't got nothing. Didn't say you did. Boy, tigers come around here? Y'all ain't nowhere to be found.
Shut your mouth, you little shit!